Good morning, friends, families, and all of you out there in Facebook land. Welcome to worship here at Bethel of Mound. Our opening song today is You Are My King. I pray you will sing with us today.
I'm forgiven because you were forsaken. I'm accepted, you were condemned. And I am alive and well, your spirit is within me. Because you died and rose again. I'm forgiven because you were forsaken. I'm accepted, you were condemned. And I am alive and well, your spirit is within me. Because you died and rose
Hey, good morning, friends out there in Facebook land. Pastor Jim Beard here from Bethel of Mound. Welcome to worship this day. You are tuned in with the Bethel of Mound Church, and Bethel means the house of God. And this house means that you then, whenever you enter here, you are the children of God, loved and blessed and full of grace, surrounds all that you are about. So, welcome. We're glad you're with us for this worship today. This is the Easter season, not just one day back there, but we have a whole season here that we celebrate the risen Lord. It is the most joyous season in the Christian calendar, is what it says. And, this is the season in which we get to laugh at death, which reminds me of a story. But Sue's not here to groan or laugh, so you'll have to do the laughing for us today, okay? So you check this out. Here's a story. It's a story about a grown man who was unable to attend his father's funeral, unfortunately. He lived quite far away, so he called his brother who lived closer and said, do me a favor, do something nice for Dad, okay, and send me the bill. Send me the bill. Okay. So a few weeks later, he receives this bill for around $200. $200, which he, duly pays and is glad to have been a part of it that way. And then the next month, he gets another bill for $200, and he's thinking, well, they must have missed some of the expenses, so he pays that one as well, and off it goes. And when the bills for around $200 keep coming in, month after month, he decides he better call his brother and see what's going on. So he calls him, and his brother explains. Well, he said, you said to do something nice for Dad, so I rented him a tuxedo. You go figure out how to solve that problem. Okay. Yeah, this is actually the last Sunday here in the Easter season, the season where we get to laugh at death, because the resurrection says, don't fear that anymore. There is great joy yet to come. It also means that we're nearing the end of our Easter season series. We've been doing a series here called Just Imagine. Just imagine. We didn't have Jesus and God go through all of this just to leave things the way they were. No, just imagine what the future is supposed to be about, what our lives were meant to be. This was an opportunity for all of that to come forth again. And so we needed this divine act of Easter so that our lives could be different and better, and for us personally, and actually for the whole world. And so we have been imagining together all these weeks. We've imagined standing in a cornfield out back, hearing voices that said, if you build it, they will come. And then we tried to imagine how God was calling us to ease another's pain now in our world, and how else God was calling us to go the distance, especially for the elderly in our community. The next week, we have imagined dreaming what we wanted most. What do we want most? And discovered that God is not a vending machine, not just sitting there waiting for our self-centered prayer requests. No. Instead, Jesus is ready to fulfill our prayers when they are all about godly things, when they mimic the things which he himself was all about, and when we let God take our dreams and just allow them to spark even greater things than we can even imagine. Remember that week? Week after that, we have imagined persevering past all of our obstacles and our setbacks, climbing mountains, you remember, with, what was her name? Junko Taibi, who was that first Japanese woman to reach the top of Mount Everest, the first woman ever. I should correct myself. And following the example of Mother Teresa, who looked up on her wall and saw those sayings, and who then encourages us to also ignore the world's negative reactions and just do it anyway. And then last week, we've been imagining flying. Imagine you can fly on a magic carpet ride, flying free like uncaged birds. Yes, because Jesus has thrown open the doors of anything that would once cage us, chain us, lock our spirits down. We realize that unlike Disney World, which may sell happiness based on escaping reality, Jesus leads us to eternal happiness by saying, embrace this reality, and then together we can transform whatever is not working and would be chaining us down. Today, one more Imagine Together episode. It's time to imagine what it would be like to be serving a superstar. Oh. Think about that. This past week, we also, I went off with all the other clergy and lay delegates from all the churches, and we met in St. Cloud and had our annual conference, which takes place once a year up there. So we received reports, we received worship times together, we had updates, and I'll be passing all those pieces and highlights onto you in probably the latter half of this worship service. So stay tuned for that. This is also Memorial Day weekend, and therefore let's pause right now. Let's pause and remember those who gave their very lives for us as well.
When I look back through history and consider all the sacrifices in every war, and I try to grasp it all, come to grips with it, stand in reverence of all those willing to give their lives for something bigger than themselves, I am stunned by the sheer numbers. All those lives, all those families, serving their country. I can't always comprehend it. My heart is not big enough to take it all in, that each one didn't come home. What they lost for their service, what we gained for their courage. Today, I stop to remember. Every single number is one soldier, one sailor who got up in the morning and put on a uniform, one Marine who answered the call to fight for freedom, one airman who knew the cost and went anyway, one man or woman who paid the ultimate price for many, and the freedom I live in now. Today, I remember.
Just imagine. Just imagine that you could have anyone over for dinner. Over to your house, maybe just say they're coming this next month, Anyone, alive or dead, you can have anyone come over. Who would you choose? A movie star? An all-star athlete from your favorite team, perhaps. A star author, doctor, politician, educator, and a business leader. Who would you have over that you would want to serve? The President of the United States, perhaps. Might as well go big here. Yeah, think about who you might invite. And what would you do if they said they were coming? If they came, let's see, you'd probably clean the house. You'd probably pull out the fine china. You would probably prepare your signature entree, whatever that happens to be, with all the fixings. And you would prepare, and you'd, put fresh flowers on the table. you would be ready for this person, wouldn't you? Yeah. And why would you do all these things? Okay? Because, well, because your guest is a superstar. And if he or she is that important, well, they're worth the extra effort, right? Yeah. Superstars are oftentimes those who have, well, let's just name it. They've got the most money, usually, the most influence somehow, or the most notoriety, the best cars, perhaps, the best clothes, the best looks. It tends to go with them. Yeah. And we might pull out all of the stops if we were ever to find ourselves serving such a superstar. Jesus was just that type of superstar. Oh, yeah. But if he were invited in this way to your house, I'm not sure he would be impressed. No, don't get me wrong. Not because, oh, he demands so much that that it demands more than you're able to give. That's not the point. No, but because he never saw others as any less than himself. Yeah, to Jesus, all were important and all were worthy. All should be treated as superstars are. And if you're going to imagine anything, I picture Jesus. I can imagine if Jesus sits here and says, hey, you know what, if you can imagine anything, I think it might be something like this story I'm about to tell you right here. And so here's a story from Matthew 25. It goes like this. Jesus says, when the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was, sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. And then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, truly, I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. So, the king who sits on the throne with life and death, just within his power to grant, thinks that you are blessed. Yeah, but you are not part of the royal bloodline, are you? I mean, and yet you're graciously handed a piece of the inheritance? Really? A piece of the kingdom? Really? Which is, it says, has been in the family since the creation of time. Wow. And why are they handing this to you? Because you slayed a dragon, or you killed a giant along the way? No. Did you lead your nation through a potential disaster or through the pandemic? No. So what great things did you do to deserve this inheritance? And then he names them. Let's see, you fed the king when he was hungry. You gave a drink to the king when he was thirsty. You showed hospitality, warmth, and friendship to the king when he was a stranger in your town. And you gave the king clothes and medicine and companionship. Wow, that's really great of you. That did did you really do all those things? No. Hmm. You you didn't. You, but the king never came to your house or your town? Really? Are you serious? When did he ever eat a meal prepared? That the specialty dish that you had, he didn't eat that dish that you provided for him? No. Come on, did you just forget it? Is that what's happening? You just sort of slipped your mind that he was there? Yeah, probably if the king came to your house, you wouldn't forget that, would you? Hmm. I don't know. The king must be mistaken. Is that right? The king is mistaken. Maybe the king is confusing you with somebody else. No, nope. The king is not mistaken. The king is not confused. The king says so. Maybe you didn't do all these things for him directly, is what he says. But you did do these things for some people who are very, very important to him. You did these things not just for anybody, any old servant, any bottom of the rung anybody. You just didn't do it because you had to for somebody, and it's just what you were forced to do. No, you did these things for what he would consider the king's brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters, you did these for, and because you have cared for the royal family out of your kindness, not out of your obligation, you too are now welcomed into the royal inheritance. Wow. Wow. Now, you see, now that's a whole new world to imagine. Just imagine. A vision where yes, we are called to take care of the superstars. Take care of the brothers and sisters of our King and Savior. But there was more to the story, more to Jesus' story, and it goes on like this. And then he will say to those on his left, "Depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not invite me in. I needed clothes, and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you did not look after me." And they also will answer, "Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty, or a stranger, or needing clothes, or sick, or in prison, and did not help you?" And he will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me." And then they will go away to eternal punishment, but the righteous to eternal life. Wow, Jesus has some rather harsh words, doesn't he, for these people? My goodness, see, the superstar is in Jesus' story is the king, okay, and we might think of all those who are hungry and who are thirsty, and all those things that he named. Think of them as all of those people are the king's royal family, okay? And the king's royal family is in need and at your doorstep, and you're not doing anything. You did nothing for them. It's just as if you did nothing for the king himself, is what this story is getting at. "Away with you," he says, "because you haven't even cared for the royal family out of your kindness, let alone out of your obligation. You are not welcome. You are not welcome in the royal inheritance which you thought you deserved." Yeah, well, instead, you're going to suffer the penalty of your choosing for forever. And I think how many people get overwhelmed uh, when they think about and when they imagine the immensity of need that is out there in the world. Somehow, some people just get frozen by how much need needs to be done, and they end up doing nothing. Other people deny that they have anything of value to give. They think they're being oh so humble by just allowing others to who are supposedly better off or have greater significance and influence to do the ministry for them, and so they too end up doing nothing. Others are consumed with money, getting money, and they feel they can't afford to give anything, and so they do nothing. Still, others are so wrapped up with you name it, their jobs, their kids, their home, their sports, that they don't give anything or pay any attention because they just feel like they don't have time or resources or anything left to give. And so they too end up doing yeah, you know what? The world which Jesus came to save was for a world where everyone, especially those in need, would be treated as the king's royal family, as kings and queens and as royalty. Jesus suffered on that cross, was laid in that grave, and rose again so that even the non-superstars would be treated with respect, with kindness, with love, with compassion. They would be treated like the superstars. Yeah, Easter took place so that our world would be turned around, so that the overlooked would be given care, so that servanthood would be the focus rather than stardom. Just imagine. Just imagine. Wow, just imagine that everyone you serve is a superstar to God because they are. As our time of offering approaches here, I hope you will avoid doing nothing. Give to the royal family, whether through Bethel or through other means. Give to the royal family, the superstars in God's eyes. Okay, as one local church, we reach out here at Bethel and we make a difference. We know we make a difference in our communities, especially. But we reach further than that. I love being a United Methodist because we are a connectional, and through not only our apportionments, which we pass on freely, but we also take special offerings, and we're connected. We say we have a connectional system. We are connected to all the other United Methodist churches, of course, worldwide, but even if you just want to think about it, across our conference, which is the state of Minnesota. Together we are reaching out. We are doing more than we ever could do all by ourselves. And so as today's offering is being collected and you're giving generously to the royal family, I invite you to watch this 3-minute video from this year's annual conference. And I want you to know, and I want you to picture this, just imagine it, that you are part of all these ministries that are lifted up. You are part of the ministries which took place this year, near and far, and whether there's another church actually doing it we are connected, and it's all of us doing these things. So take in and celebrate what has been done for our King. Let me share with you a few more things from our annual conference this past week. Things you may be interested in knowing of what's going on in our larger church. This past week, it was well over 500 clergy and laity gathered at the River's Edge Convention Center in St. Cloud to celebrate, to worship, to reconnect, and to conduct official business on behalf of you and the 350 or so other local churches across our state. Here are some of those highlights from those days of coming together as Christ's people. The theme was drawing from both Psalm 23 and John 10 and 11. The theme was Jesus Healer. Okay, we are a people and a world in need of healing beyond our doing. God invites us to come sit by still waters and to allow God to restore our souls. At this annual conference, we explored some ways in which we have seen or experienced God's healing and ways in which we are providing hope and healing to a hurting world. Milestones also took place in ministry this past year. Attendees at the conference participated in the service of pardon me, licensing, commissioning, and ordination, at which 19 clergy were recognized for milestones in ministry. 1 deacon and 1 elder were ordained. 2 probationers were commissioned, and 13 licensed local pastors were recognized. At the end of the 2 days, attendees also recognized and gave thanks for 18 retiring elders and deacons who have together contributed, get this, 496 years of faithful service was represented by those retirees. Also, 22 clergy and clergy spouses who died within the last year were remembered and honored when we gathered. Legislation also took place, much of it focused around diversity and inclusion. Annual conference members overwhelmingly approved 4 pieces of legislation. They were focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. The initials are often used, D, E, and I, for that type of work. So, the first charge to the conference was saying you need to contract. We need to contract with an outside auditor who has experience in DEI work to perform an equity audit of the human resources at the conference level in order to increase equity in hiring practices, employee compensation and procedures, and employee recruiting and retention at the conference level. Another legislative piece came along which charges the cabinet to prioritize the recruitment of candidates of color and LGBTQIA+ candidates for open positions in order to create a more diverse conference leadership team. Third piece of legislation stipulates that the conference's currently part-time racial justice organizer position will be made into a full-time, actually a director level position on the extended cabinet, and that by January 2023. Meanwhile, voting members approved by a margin of 339 to 36 a piece of legislation that calls for the Minnesota Conference to hold a storytelling space. Do that before the 2026 annual conference, and that would allow Minnesota United Methodists to tell stories that resulted from all this book of discipline policies stating that homosexuality is incompatible with Christian teaching. Yeah, good legislation. There were also several churches that have either been discontinued or disaffiliated, which we had to vote on as well. Attendees voted to ratify the terms of what is known as disaffiliation agreements made between the Conference Board of Trustees and 3 local churches, just 3, that have discerned that their path goes a different direction from the Minnesota Annual Conference. And so it was in 2019 that an amendment was added to the United Methodist Book of Discipline, allowing churches to disaffiliate all the way through December of 2023 over any disagreement about homosexuality. We have sharp disagreements about the shape of ministry, but we can trust one another to God's grace. It was a quote by Bishop David Bard, which he said after the disaffiliation votes were completed. Meanwhile, attendees gave thanks for the ministries and the legacies of faith of 5 churches that have closed over the past year. A love offering was taken again. Conference members, on behalf of their churches, also gave over $27,000 to the 2022 love offering, which will address food insecurity by supporting 3 Minnesota United Methodist Food Ministries and assists those in need in our nation and world by supporting places like the Red Bird Missionary Conference in the Appalachians and volunteers in mission and the trips that they take. I'll let you know, it's hard to capture all of the energy, the warmth, the sense of the Holy Spirit in our midst just by hearing a report like this. So here's another 3-minute video, which not only summarizes annual conference for you, but it also offers a peek, let's just say, at the unofficial business, the unofficial joy, which is also a big part of this event.
It's gonna be a blast!
Yeah, we have a great time.
It is my joy, my privilege, my pleasure as your bishop to welcome you to the 168th session of the Minnesota Annual Conference.
I always say I'm trying to keep up with the spirit, but sometimes keeping up with the spirit means slowing down. Reckless, cause you're reckless. Angels and ancestors, God and protect us. Love and hate mesh on the brass nickels, cause we down with the rah-rah ruckus. Suckers, but it's behind this body and my
Items 101, 102, and 103 that we'll be considering.
God has been faithful, and you, the people of God, have stepped out in faith. Thanks be to God.
Will the teller please take out that envelope and open it up and hand a ballot to everyone at your table who is eligible to vote?
Item 150 was approved by a vote of 339 to 36.
If the church is to be the church, to convince the world of the reality of the gospel, to witness that God is still at work in the world, to serve this world with kindness and toward justice, the church needs leaders. Friends, you've answered the call.
Next year's conference preacher is Becky Jo Messenbrink.
Perhaps as a conference, our way into the future is to follow Jesus on a journey where our souls are made large, our hearts capacious, our minds expansive, when we can hold creatively together spaciousness and direction, clarity and complexity and humility, where cure is care, and being steeped in the love of God as we know it in Jesus, the grace of God, God's dream and desire for the world is what it's about.
It was a marvelous time, and I wish you could all be there. If you have any interest, please let me know, and we can include you perhaps at the next annual conference. So, but there are other ways to expand your faith and grow it and keep living it. And so here are just some highlights for you to consider how to put all this into action for yourselves. We are really looking forward with what needs to be done here at Bethel, and another congregational gathering is going to take place after worship here in the building on June 5th. Okay, if you're in the area and want to stop by, please be a part of that with us. Also, that day, I am looking to honor any high school or college grads. And if you have someone you would like lifted up, or someone who will be here especially that we can hear from and pray over, that'll be June 5th as well. Our outreach and hospitality team is going to be very active this summer. If you are, I would say sign up for one of these things at least. be a part of it, whether it's this community event or that community event or the third community event, or we're hosting this or we're doing that. We need everyone to be involved and do this in at least one of them. And if you're not from this area, go find another place to be involved in some sort of outreach to your community this summer. Your charge is to not just do nothing, but to do something. Sign up for at least one of these things. Look for them in your area, whether it's near or far. But you can always come be a part of things with us here at Bethel. We had celebrated a baptism yesterday. I just want you to keep in your prayers. Jordan Michael Wade was baptized under our glorious maples right here outside the front door with family and church representatives present. Keep that young tyke in your prayers that we will have him know what the grace of God is all about for his life. And finally, upcoming in worship. Next week we'll have, it's Pentecost, by the way. Wear red and white, even at home, okay? Just wear red. And then you're going to feel like you're part of things. It's our last one of the Just Imagine series, but it's a little different. It says, but it takes more than imagination. It does take more than imagination to be about all these things that God intends for us. Yeah, and in a couple of weeks, the in-house crowd will be welcoming in a newly commissioned member of the clergy. Her name is Riva Tabalisma. She is from the Philippines. She is actually the daughter of a United Methodist pastor out there, but now she calls Minnesota her home. So I'm afraid we are not going to be able to broadcast her, but if, again, you're in the area, come meet her. She'll be doing actually 2 weeks in a row. Be here for both of those. But, for you online folks, we will be holding what I call the Best of Bethel. You know how they have the bests of. So instead of having nothing, we will hit the best of and hit that button and let you celebrate again like we do with other broadcasts, in our lives. Take that in again. Maybe you missed it the first time. And if you have, for example, a suggestion for, I remember this particular service, we'd love to worship with that again, send a note my way or put it in the feed right now. Do that one with the yada, 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 when you brought in all the dogs or whatever. Okay, I never brought in dogs, but so, you know what I mean? I love that one, the one with all the dogs. So just send us some suggestions, and we'll be happy to honor those if we can as well. But now's the time. Right, Sue? Sue? Sue's not here. She would say now's the time we got to send you off. To go live it, to go breathe it. But before we do, there's one more song you've just got to take in. Go click on the link to that safe connection there. Avoid all the commercials along the way. And take in this song by Audio Adrenaline. It's a great one. It's called Kings and Queens. Kings and Queens. I went looking for it because it's a great fit for our message today. So go click over there and let that be your final word of the day for these last 4 minutes. And then go into your world and know that from God's house here at Bethel to your house, there's a world of people out there who the King considers his royal family. So take good care of them.